Yes, hello. I'm Sebastian Porling. I'm a junior consultant at Factor 10. I live in Stockholm. I work remote for full time. Short about me, I more tend to love more front end development. I love design and UX and user perspectives and making the web more accessible for everyone. Yes. So I'm going to talk about making internationalizing easier with CSS Logical Properties. So I will start talking about some challenges within internationalizing, like some example of these challenges. Also, like what is CSS Logical Properties, how to apply them, a summary, and then we have some questions and answers. Yes. So internationalizing. So it's all about making the web accessible for everyone. So it's like handling multiple languages. Like your website is supposed to work for Arabic, Chinese, and English, Swedish, doesn't matter. It also has to support multiple devices, like all the different screen sizes, and if you're old or new. And we want to do this usually very fast within like some software companies. We want to introduce a new market like super quickly. So like some challenges are like dealing with really long words, and then like some stuff we already have, like stop using fixed values and layouts, be more responsive. Also like just handling the different screen sizes. Just we also have tools for that, like just flexbox grid, floating values. We don't care about actual like screen sizes anymore. So multiple reading directions. How do we handle if we want to go from a left to right or a right to left language? Here the CSS Logical Properties comes in. So here's an example. Let's say we just want to say that we want some margins between the text and icon. Then we use a small CSS here, is a margin left. But if we switch the website to a right to left, then the margin is still on the left side, on the of the direction of the website. So what's a way we can handle this is just check if we are on a right to left website, and then just flip the margin. But you'll see, like if you go to like a Chinese where everything's flipped, then it is like if you have this condition on everything, the code will should be quadrupled. So what's a way to fix this? CSS Logical Properties, which is a new way of writing attributes for handling sizes and where like borders, paddings, margins, and it's supposed to be language agnostic, so we don't care about what language we are in. We don't care what writing direction we are in either. We just care about the flow of the content. So yeah, if we just want to follow the logical way of how content flows. Like for Arabic, it's more right to left, and we want to just follow that property. So it's rather logical than physical. So we are no more going to use any top, bottom, left or right directions when we are supposed to add sizings and paddings anymore. So short, block and inline. You might have heard of it before, like block and inline elements in the DOM. So CSS Logical Properties, we think of them like that block is supposed to be the dimension that's perpendicular. So like when you go on the flow, like let's say I have a block here, then the flow is just perpendicular. Then that is the block. And when it's inline, it's just perpendicular with a text that we're writing. Let's see an example. So, for example, in Swedish, English, where we go left to right, then it would be something like this. So, with perpendicular, then we are on the block, and the start of the block, and then at and the end of the block are on the block end, and when it's inline, it's a parallel. We are on the start of the inline is inline start, and the end we are on the inline end. And we flip this. Let's say we are on Arabic. Then it's just the inline that changes. And this happens automatically. You don't have to think about it. Also, if we change it to like Chinese, everything just flips. So like the dimension flips instead. So let's recap this. So inline and start are some new ways of applying to attributes. And it just changes. Like if you want to specify the block dimension, you change it to block. And you want to be at the end, you specify the end. So let's see some examples. For example, so for padding, instead you would write padding top. You would write padding inline, padding block start, like the start of the block, which is perpendicular to the text. So yeah, padding block start. And or if you want to be have a margin of right, then we write margin inline end. And also there's some nice shorthands, so you can write the start and end on the same line of code. So let's see, how do we do this today? So you probably have seen these inspector tools in your browser. So you'll see like where the margin top, a border top, and so on, and also the height and width. So what happens if we change all of these? It would be something like this. So everything that was top just becomes margin, becomes block start. Everything that was left would be inline start, and so on. Something that's new that I didn't tell you about are size. So width becomes the inline, which was the parallel to the flow of text. Then it's the size of that dimension. So inline size and then block size for height. So it's a small sidetrack here. There also are some new logical values. So for something like caption side, we can instead like write left or right where it should be. We could just write inline start or inline end, and then it would be like the logical way of writing that for Arabic and Chinese or whatever. And also for floating, where you want like your images to float on the website with your text. It's the same way, or just aligning text and more. So you can check the specification by W3C, and then they have a lot more values and properties. So let's go back. So how would we fix this like ugly piece of code? So we would just remove where we specify like check what direction we are on, because we don't need that anymore because we are agnostic. And then we just change margin left to the new property, and then it would just look the same with just much less code. So just throw top, bottom, left and right out of window and we're good. But can I use it? Like everything like new on the web, like CSS or HTML. So on canIUseIt.com, on the tracked like user activity, like 95% of all users and do have like a newer browser. So this won't cover everyone, unfortunately. So we will have to include some fallbacks or make some polyfills to make it work for everyone. I mean, it matters. Like you have to check your markets where you're going to deploy this new way of writing websites on. And if they don't usually use new browsers, then you might just have to write it all the way anyways. Yes, so quick summary. So some good stuff, like we don't have to write as much code, so it's better maintenance in that way because we don't have to change it like 4 ways or 3 ways or whatever, how many reading directions you're supposed to support. So it's a better scalability in that way, because if I wrote this once, then it should work on the next reading direction as well. So what was the bad? Yeah, so not 100% browser support. It could be quite complex, like to set in the mind of like the block in the inline dimensions, just then left, right, top, and bottom. Really simple. So it's also like the familiarity. So everyone is not used to this way of writing. Yes, and that's everything. I might be being quick, but yes. Questions? Yes. Ooh. Yeah. To just change it? I mean, oh, it's not on, sorry. Is it okay that you repeat the question?
Thanks. Yeah, I can repeat the question. Yeah, so I was just wondering if you were familiar with any like code mods or ESLint rules or things like that to help sort of shift over from the old way of doing things to a better way.
So any like code mods or linting rules that would help? So just go away from the Western way of writing. No, actually, I don't know any. But I guess that's like some room to do. Like just go into some linting rules and just add them. So yeah, that's a really good idea to do. More questions?
So I was wondering about the you mentioned like the Chinese would switch the flow to be vertical instead of horizontally focused, and or the other way around, I suppose. But I was wondering, is that something you really want to do? Because I know at least in Japanese, I don't know about Chinese specifically, but in Japanese, they've sort of like adjusted to our way of doing things, and so like having that accommodation would sort of go against what is actually used on the web right now.
Yeah, that's very true. Really good question. Like, and I guess that might be like just because there wasn't really any good way of doing these things before, like handling like multiple reading directions and so on. So it might not be like the case actually to just do that. Like it depends. Like on the website, if it's supposed to like maybe have like more longer pieces of text, it might really need that in that way, because they of course they are used to like the new way, but like there are also like more older people that's used to like reading in like the newspapers and so on, like where it's still written in the old way. So like there is still like really good cases where you might need this for Chinese and Japanese. Yeah.
Two immediate reflections when seeing this syntax is that more than once, as in multiple times, we've had bugs caused by saying left when we meant right and vice versa. Also, many people, I feel, now this is the arrogant teacher talking, still haven't fully grokked the block inline model. This syntax alleviates both of these problems.
Yeah, it's really true.
I don't really have a question. I just want to thank you for the talk. I had completely missed this syntax. I'm so happy. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yes. Thank you.